Captain's log, subdate 200805.2. Turns out, the docking sequence is run by a program called Mavis Beacon. My top-of-the-line tech is being operated by a kids program designed to teach children to type on a PC. Grumble. Welcome everyone to the Halls of Injustice. And much like yesterday's utter tripe, today is no better. Because the case we're going to go into, which again, much like yesterday's, didn't have too much information, I can't imagine why. We will come to a resounding conclusion that the UK criminal justice system is an absolute joke. Then again, we've done 35 of these if you include this one. Or is it 36? No, 37 actually, because there are 2 that were points. Yes, and we have yet to really get one that actually had the correct sentence. For this, we need Sophie Johnson of Elswick, Newcastle. 2 years ago, at the age of 20, she started dating a young man, and this relationship got sexual. This happened at least 5 times before Sophie Johnson realized something was a little wrong. Something was amiss. Something didn't make sense. And I'm sure it wasn't when his voice broke while you were in the middle of it. That's right. He's a bit on the young side. How old, do you ask, was he at the time? 14. So it wasn't, in fact, sex. It was, based on UK law, statutory rape. The part that gives this a grey area is the fact that at no point had Sophie Johnson tried to ascertain his age. Because while he was very grown up for his age and she not so much, this, by the way, being a direct quote from the courts, means that this is all quite a grey area. The prosecution, because she got arrested, had tried to argue that she knew, but without sufficient evidence, it is speculation at best. So upon finding out he was actually only 14 years old, she broke up with him, and it is unknown who called the police, because the young boy in question did not go to the police. He did not give a victim impact statement. He complied with the police when they approached him, but how they found out is not mentioned in any of the articles I have looked through concerning this case. She was charged with 5 counts of having sexual activity with a child. It's a funny way of saying rape, but okay. So Sophie Johnson was arrested, and after an investigation, this case went to the Newcastle Crown Court. The prosecution's main argument being, as earlier stated, she had ignored previous warnings about the youngster's age. With the prosecutor Gavin, unpronounceable last name D-O-I-G, I'm not even going to try, saying the prosecution case is Miss Johnson did not reasonably believe he was 16 or over and took no steps to find out his age. The basis of plea is when she found out his age, she stopped the sexual contact which is accepted. She ignored the warnings of others, but when she found out his age, she desisted. The prosecution did, however, concede that there appeared to be genuine affection between them. Oh, that's adorable. And that the activities, the extracurricular RAPE activities, only happened over a short period of time. Defending Sophie Johnson, Penny Hall said that Sophie Johnson has been in no trouble before or since the offences 2 years ago, and has lost her career, and had to move away from her family home as a result, with Penny Hall also saying that Sophie Johnson's mental health has been affected by the punishment she has already received, adding, "It is the position where the defendant simply didn't do enough, and when she did find out the age, she stopped any sexual contact. She is a lady who presents with a maturity level much lower than her years. She has her own vulnerabilities. She's remorseful, she's embarrassed, and you can be confident the court will not see her again." In every case I've ever seen like this, there's always been this argument of mental maturity. It always gets brought up. Always. That and there being some mental health issues that in some way encouraged this behaviour or allowed it. It all falls handily under an umbrella term many would use called female privilege, where if you reverse the roles of it being a male and a young lady, he goes to prison, regardless of the context. I should say, for the sake of clarity, I don't care for the term female privilege. I really don't. But I have to accept it is very much apparent in many cases in the UK courts where things like this happen. Granted, there is a rather interesting context, but in reality, that context is never good enough. Continuing on from this, Sophie Johnson pled guilty to all 5 counts, which was, in the context of it, the right thing to do, which may well have led on to what the judge decided when it came to sentencing. Judge Sarah Mallet, soon to be Lou Roll Holder Judge Sarah Mallet, said this was a relationship of mutual affection. There was no pressure applied or grooming of any sort. These proceedings have obviously had a significant effect on you, and you have been the victim of a serious offence yourself during that time. You have had to leave your home and family and lost your job as a result of this offending, and I accept you are remorseful. You have experienced significant punishment in one way or another as a result of the offences. That is not to put aside the effect of offences like this on the victim, but there is no victim personal statement, and I understand he has tried to make further contact with you. I hope there will be no long-term harmful effects on the boy. So I guess now we come to the sentence. Sophie Johnson, found guilty, sentenced to a 3-year community order and given 5 years on the sex offenders register. A community order, for those who don't know, can be imposed for offences that are serious but not so serious as to warrant custody. So essentially your punishment is carried out in the community instead of a prison. This could include being supervised, unpaid work community payback, various programs, rehabilitations, treatments, curfews, residence being agreed by the courts, activities to improve your skills or spend time with the victim of... No, that one's not applicable. Prohibited activity, for example, attending football matches, depending on the context, mental health treatments and attendance centres, those of under 25s, so Sophie Johnson qualifies. In the context of what has transpired, I'd be inclined to believe some form of rehabilitation as a bare minimum. But based on the already balked results of this, I'm inclined to believe she'll probably end up doing unpaid work, along with a residence, curfew, and possible programs. Dating is a very tricky area, and it is obviously, with that context, what makes this case rather unusual. Many will see it as a case that she took advantage of someone that was younger, regardless. But I can understand why age may not have cropped up. Some people do look older than they should, which would handily lead on to many saying that the boy should have mentioned his age. So I can understand why the sentence is absolutely shambolic. Using the excuse of the punishment received by the communities at large is not a valid punishment. The loss of your job is, while unfortunate, a consequence of a poor decision. Consider that your life lesson, Sophie Johnson. I'm sure many in my chat will have varying levels of punishments they believe you should suffer. Others, I'm sure, will take a more calm stance. I believe you shouldn't call this sexual activity, but it's going to be very difficult to convince anyone to call it what it's supposed to be called when the receiving end is a younger male, which I find to be really frustrating. Call it what it is, since you've already used language akin to it in other areas of your articles.